Can this team really bring back Natasha? Are they really going to run it all the way back? Fortunately for us, no. Natasha Howard's gone, never to be heard from again, banished to the Shadow Realm. She's in Minnesota. The Chicago Sky, the Rakia Jackson, Ariel Atkins trade finally goes down.
Watch that reaction carefully. That's not just excitement about a roster move. That's relief. Pure, unfiltered relief from someone who's been watching a franchise make questionable decisions for months. Because what just happened in Chicago represents one of the most dramatic organizational pivots we've seen in WNBA free agency this year. And it all started the moment Angel Reese left the building.
Natasha Howard, it was nice to know you, but I gotta move on. Ramona Shelburne reports, two-time All-Star Natasha Howard is signing with the Minnesota Lynx on a 2-year, $1.4 million deal. Howard is returning to Minnesota, where she won a title in 2017. After starting all 44 games for the Indiana Fever last season, she averaged 11.4 points on 55% shooting, 6.6 rebounds, 1.2 steals per game, and was the MVP of the WNBA's Commissioner's Cup. MVP, MVP, MVC you later. Natasha Howard.
Natasha Howard is gone. 2 years, $1.4 million to Minnesota. And for Indiana Fever fans, this might be the best news they've heard all offseason. Because if you watched the Fever last season, you saw exactly what he's talking about. Natasha Howard averaged 11.4 points on 55% shooting and 6.6 rebounds. On paper, those are solid numbers. She even won the Commissioner's Cup MVP. But stats don't tell you about effort plays. They don't show you what happens when the ball leaves your hands.
Now, do you guys remember this? We're saved from this. Caitlin Clark passing the ball, and she says, she says, here we go again. And she ties her shoes. Instead of actually worrying about how this play was going to unfold, she already knew how it was going to unfold. Head down, right to the basket.
This is the play that defined Natasha Howard's season in Indiana. Haley Clark brings the ball up the floor and makes the pass. Standard offensive possession. Except watch what happens next. Haley immediately bends down to tie her shoe, not because her laces came undone during a dead ball. Not because there was a timeout. She ties her shoe in the middle of a live possession because she already knows she's not getting that ball back. That's not a basketball play. That's a player who's given up on the offensive system because she knows the ball is going into one person's hands and staying there.
Oh, you hate to see it. And we couldn't even get our own offensive rebound. Oh, we're saved from that. We're saved from that. She knew the ball was never coming back. She knew it wasn't getting back. Yeah. We can't have that on our team. You know what I mean? Now I'm going to hold out. Monique Billings, hopefully, we don't see that, right? Monique Billings, like, do I got it? I don't got it. Boom. See, here you go. You know what I mean?
The Fever couldn't even secure their own offensive rebound on that possession. And this wasn't an isolated incident. This was the pattern. Indiana's offensive flow stagnated when certain players dominated possessions without moving the ball. The Fever needed players who would buy into a team-first system, especially with Caitlin Clark running the offense. Instead, they got a veteran who played her own game regardless of what the play call was. So when Minnesota came calling with a 2-year deal, Indiana didn't hesitate. They moved on.
Now Natasha Howard's going to be on the opposing team. The last time we saw Natasha Howard play defense on Caitlin Clark, Caitlin Clark put her in the blender. Oh, crossover. Oh, going by you. Psych. Step back. Right in your face.
And here's the thing about Natasha Howard going to Minnesota. She's going to be on the opposing team now, which means twice a year, minimum, we're going to see her try to defend Caitlin Clark. And the last time that matchup happened, it didn't go well for Howard. Caitlin put her in the blender. Crossover, step back, right in her face, and yes, she made the shot. When you can't stay in front of the player and you're not contributing to offensive flow, there's no reason to bring you back. Minnesota can figure out how to make that work. Indiana is moving forward.
clout chaser, wherever you be. Dejanay Carrington going to the Chicago Sky. Keeping the Chicago Sky rivalry alive and well. Oh, you hate to see it. Folks, we're going to have Dejanay Carrington and JC Sheldon tag team wrestle Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark. They're gonna do a 3D. Shout out to the Dudley Boys, right?
But the real chaos is happening in Chicago, because while Indiana is quietly upgrading their roster, the Chicago Sky is making moves that have their fan base absolutely losing their minds. Dejanay Carrington is headed to Chicago. JC Sheldon is headed to Chicago. And if you're wondering why that matters, both of those players have established reputations as physical, aggressive defenders who aren't afraid to push the boundaries of what's legal on a basketball court. Chicago just assembled a defensive squad that's going to make every game against Indiana feel like a playoff atmosphere. Skylar Diggins-Smith is already there as a hyper-competitive guard. Now add 2 more players with that same mentality, and you've got a team that's going to test referees every single night.
WWE, shout out to the Dudley Boys. They're going to throw Sophie Cunningham against the ropes, throw her up, boom. Who knows? JC Sheldon might say, get the tables. We have no idea. Dejanay Carrington and JC Sheldon on the same team. Chicago's going to get spicy. I'm already laying the seeds for you. It's going to get spicy.
Chicago also brought back Courtney Vandersloot and re-signed several key pieces. They traded for Rickea Jackson. On paper, this is a legitimate playoff roster, not a championship contender, but absolutely a team that can make noise in the postseason. The Sky went from a franchise that looked completely lost at the end of last season to a team with a clear identity and direction. And all of this happened in the span of a few weeks. But here's where it gets messy. Because one of those moves has created a controversy that perfectly encapsulates how dysfunctional the relationship between the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese's fan base has become.
The Lynx got Dejanay Carrington, as we said, but Rickea Jackson has officially landed in Chicago. Angel Reese's fans not too happy about the jersey number. This was Rickea Jackson's jersey in high school, so she's familiar with the number 5. Man, Flage's mama said Angel slow, and her fans just as slow as her. Came in.
Rickea Jackson is wearing number 5, Angel Reese's number, and the reaction from Reese's fans has been absolutely nuclear. Social media exploded with accusations that the Sky are disrespecting Angel by giving away her jersey number before she's even been gone a full offseason. Comments like "retire the number" and "this is a slap in the face" flooded every Sky announcement. But here's the context that's getting completely ignored. Rickea Jackson wore number 5 at Mississippi State. She wore number 5 in high school. This is her number. She's not taking Angel's number as some kind of statement. She's wearing the number she's always worn.
Damn. Retire 5. She might come back once Sloot leaves. Folks, you see all the moves that the Chicago Sky are making now that Angel Reese said bye, bye, bye. Shout out to it. It said, Angel, oh, you want better players? Oh, yeah, we're going to do that this offseason. Don't worry. No worry. We're getting better players this offseason.
And let's be very clear about something. Angel Reese's jersey is not retired. It's not going to be retired. The Chicago Sky didn't make the playoffs last season. They finished with a losing record. Angel had a solid rookie year with good rebounding numbers, but this franchise has won championships. They've had legitimate Hall of Fame players wear their uniform. The idea that a jersey number should be untouchable after one non-playoff season is absurd. But the bigger issue here is that this controversy reveals just how disconnected Angel's fan base is from the actual team they claim to support. The Sky tried to accommodate Rickea Jackson's preference while also navigating the reality that Hailey Van Lith wears number 2, which was Jackson's other option, so they went with 5. A completely reasonable basketball decision. But because it involves Angel Reese, it became a referendum on respect and loyalty, and the comments section turned into a war zone, people calling the franchise dog shit and claiming this is proof the organization never valued Angel. Meanwhile, the Sky are out here actually building a competitive roster for the first time in years. Here's what makes this particularly telling. The same fans demanding the Sky retire Angel's number are the ones who spent all last season complaining that the team wasn't good enough. They wanted better players. They wanted veteran leadership. They wanted playoff contention. And now that the Sky are actually making those moves, those same fans are mad because one of the new players is wearing a jersey number. You can't have it both ways. You can't demand organizational excellence and then get upset when the organization makes basketball decisions without consulting a player who's not even on the roster anymore.
She wore 5 in college, but I think Haley wears number 2. There it is. Before y'all do this, 2 is currently Haley and Rakia were number 5 at Mississippi State and high school. Oh, you dirty ass mofos. Only 5 we know is Angel. Yeah, folks, I will say this. If and when Caitlin Clark moves on from Indiana, I'm moving on. I'm moving.
And that comment right there is the perfect summary of this entire situation. When Angel Reese announced she was leaving Chicago, her fans immediately started criticizing the franchise for not building a better team around her. The Sky were accused of wasting her talent, of not being serious about winning, of failing to surround her with quality players. So the front office went out and did exactly what those fans demanded. They brought in Deasnay Carrington, a proven defender and versatile wing. They traded for Rakia Jackson, a skilled forward who can score and rebound. They re-signed Courtney Vandersloot, one of the best point guards in league history. They brought back key rotation pieces and added depth.
No. If CC leaves Indiana, that's where my attention is going to be focused. Wish Indiana the best. Wish them the best. But CC is CC. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I appreciate all the support. Like the video, hype the video, and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. See you next time, and as always, take it easy.
The Sky are making win-now moves, and the response from Angel's fanbase is to complain about a jersey number. It's like watching someone ask for a gourmet meal and then getting mad about the plate it's served on. The cognitive dissonance is staggering, because what this really reveals is that a significant portion of Angel Reese's fanbase never actually cared about the Chicago Sky as an organization. They cared about Angel. And now that she's gone, they're looking for reasons to be upset, rather than acknowledging that the team is genuinely improving. Think about the timeline here. Angel leaves Chicago, and immediately the narrative becomes, this franchise failed her. The Sky respond by upgrading the roster across multiple positions. They add toughness, skill, and playoff experience. And instead of recognizing that these moves might have helped Angel if she'd stayed, her fans are focused on a jersey number that has zero impact on winning basketball games. It's performance outrage. It's finding something to be mad about because the actual basketball decisions are too competent to criticize. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The Chicago Sky are making better decisions now that Angel Reese is gone. Not because Angel was a bad player, she wasn't, but because the franchise is no longer trying to navigate the impossible task of building a winning team while also managing the expectations of a fan base that values individual stardom over organizational success. The Sky can focus on basketball fit, defensive identity, and playoff positioning without worrying about whether every move will be interpreted as disrespect to a player who chose to leave. That right there is the mentality we're dealing with. The idea that a franchise should treat a player who left after one season the same way the Lakers treat Kobe Bryant or the Spurs treat Tim Duncan, it's delusional. And it's exactly why the relationship between Chicago and Angel's fanbase became so toxic. Because there was never going to be a version of this story where both sides were happy. Angel's fans wanted her treated like a franchise legend. The Sky wanted to build a playoff team. Those two goals are fundamentally incompatible when the player in question hasn't accomplished anything at the organizational level yet. Meanwhile, Courtney Williams just signed a 2-year Supermax contract. Let that sink in for a second. Courtney Williams, who averaged 12.3 points and 3.8 assists last season, is now one of the highest paid players in the WNBA. The Supermax is supposed to be reserved for elite, franchise-defining talent, players who can carry a team deep into the playoffs, players who change the trajectory of an organization. And Courtney Williams is a solid veteran guard who provides leadership and experience. She's not a supermax player by any reasonable standard. But this is the new WNBA economics. With expansion teams driving up salaries and veteran players leveraging their experience in free agency, we're seeing contracts that don't align with on-court production. Natasha Howard got $1.4 million over 2 years from Minnesota. Gabby Williams signed with Golden State. Teams are throwing money at players who wouldn't have commanded these deals 3 years ago. And it's creating a market where mid-tier veterans are getting paid like stars, while actual stars are still operating under a salary cap that limits their earning potential. The Courtney Williams contract is particularly wild because it sets a precedent. If she's worth a supermax, what does that make players like Breanna Stewart or Aja Wilson worth? The scale is completely broken, and it's happening because teams are desperate to establish credibility in free agency. They're overpaying to show players they're serious about competing. But long-term, these contracts are going to create cap problems that limit roster flexibility. Chicago just committed significant money to a player who's on the wrong side of 30 and isn't a primary scoring option. That's the kind of move you make when you're trying to prove you're a destination franchise, not when you're actually building sustainable success. And that's the perfect way to end this. Because when Caitlin Clark eventually leaves Indiana, and she will at some point in her career, the fans who followed her to Indiana are going to follow her to the next stop. That's just the reality of player-driven fan bases in modern sports. The question is whether those fans will spend their energy complaining about jersey numbers and perceived disrespect, or whether they'll actually support the basketball decisions that help their favorite player win. The Chicago Sky situation is a cautionary tale for every WNBA franchise. When you build your identity around one player, especially a player who hasn't won anything yet, you set yourself up for this exact scenario. The fans become so invested in that individual that they can't separate player success from organizational success. And when the player leaves, the fans turn on the organization, even when the organization is making smart basketball moves. Indiana has a chance to avoid that trap with Caitlin Clark, build a team that wins games, surround her with players who fit the system, make decisions based on basketball merit, not social media sentiment. And if she eventually decides to leave, the fans who actually care about winning will respect the process. The fans who just want to be outraged will find something to complain about no matter what. You can't please both groups. The Natasha Howard trade is addition by subtraction. Getting a player who doesn't fit your offensive system off the roster and replacing her with someone who will actually move the ball is how you improve. The Chicago Sky adding Deasnay Carrington and Rickea Jackson while re-signing key veterans is how you build a playoff team. These are competent front office decisions. And the fact that some fans are more upset about a jersey number than excited about roster improvement tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If your favorite player left your team tomorrow, would you support the franchise's efforts to get better, or would you spend your energy finding reasons to be upset? Because the Chicago Sky just showed us exactly what happens when an organization chooses winning over sentiment. They're building a real team, they're making tough decisions, and they're doing it while half their former fan base complains about jersey numbers. That's not a franchise problem, that's a fan base problem. Let me know in the comments whether you think the Sky made the right call giving Rickea Jackson number 5, or if they should have retired Angel's jersey after one season. And if you think Courtney Williams deserves a Supermax contract, I want to hear your reasoning. Hit that like button if you're ready for the Indiana-Chicago rivalry to get even more intense next season, and subscribe because we're going to be covering every single one of those matchups. This is just the beginning of what's going to be a wild WNBA season.